And hello and welcome to another episode of the TF Cast.
Today with us we have Joe Tougas and Associates, or today the associate being Ann Fee. They are celebrating their bandiversary of 15 years playing together. I'll let them introduce themselves a little here. Joe, Ann, maybe start with how you got acquainted and just tell people how you're attached to the area.
I'll start because I've been here longest. I worked for 17 years at the Mankato Free Press as a full-time writer and feature writer. And in 2003-ish, I was told of this interesting potential story of a band composed of various CEOs around town. Guy that ran the phone company, guy that ran an electronics firm. They all got together and played classic rock tunes in one of their basements, and they hired themselves out for charity events and things like that. So sounded like a decent enough story to go check into, and arranged an interview in the guy's basement where the band was set up. I would watch them rehearse, and then I would interview a few of them. One of them was Ann. Whoops. One of them was Ann, and we started talking right off the bat. I had also on the side was in a band called Blue Velveeta, and we had we had just said farewell to our singer Zila Langshan, who moved away. We were short a female vocalist. Anyway, so got to talking with Ann, and eventually I asked her to consider singing some of our songs with us. And yeah, that was 2003, and so that's when we met, and not long afterwards started playing music together. That's my version, anyway. Yeah,
that's it.
And so Ann joined Blue Velveeta, and
I was number 7.
Number 7 of the
female, 7th and last female vocalist.
Yeah.
The seventh member of the band, or the seventh?
No, the 7th woman in the succession of female singers. So
wow, commitment issues at all?
I don't know.
No, they moved on. They all moved on to bigger and better things.
Exactly. We were launching pad for their success. Right. And so, and actually that's how we ended up being the only 2 members of the band who lived in Mankato. And so we would practice the songs, and then on July 22nd.
Yep.
In one of those years, 15 years ago, I can't do the math on the spot, but 15 years ago on July 22nd, we were asked to play, the 2 of us, at a friend's wedding, some John Denver song, Follow Me, a Johnny Cash song, If I Were a Carpenter, and a Bruce Springsteen song, If I Should Fall Behind, for the bride and groom. And we did. And that launched a 15-year stint as an acoustic duo of both our own songs, songwriting together, and performing a bunch of our original shtick was going to be doing 70s one-hit wonders within an acoustic duo format, and we did plenty of those and still do, but we continued to infiltrate these familiar songs with our own, and so that's the balance we're at and what we've been doing for 15 some years, though, with some other cool adventures in between, I would say, or among those years.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that we thought it was a silly idea. Like, performing with Blue Velveeta was all originals and not your wedding reception vibe or anything like that. So when the bride, who was a friend of both of ours, asked if we do this as a duo, we were like, sure, because you both loved Shandy, but like, we're not going to be doing this in public. We're not going to be covering John Denver type things. But then that was the thing. Speaking of being curious, we're like open to well, where we had to admit, like, this is really fun. Mm-hmm. We sound really good together, and it's really fun to do these songs that we grew up with. So now here we are doing it in public.
Right. And so then we we started. I'm trying to think if it was the Sugar Room at first. So there was this bar called the Sugar Room where Tandem Bagels is now. And they had a small stage. And we asked the owner, Marty, if we could, because we were now into this. We were like, and then because we grew up in the Chicago area and listened to WLS AM radio. And so we both immediately related to a similar musical history via radio. And so, Chevy Van, yes, that song. And there's one after another that we said, we've got to do these. And so we would practice at this bar called the Sugar Room in exchange for, I don't know.
Exchange for nothing
pizza.
at first. At first it was like, would you please let us rehearse here?
Right.
On like a Monday night or something like that.
Right. And so,
then eventually
we
we asked for food, and eventually food and $20.
And we told them, we warned them, it was practice. The songs will end mid-song, and we'd continue to work on it. But pretty soon it became a little come see this workshop thing happen, and friends did, and then they were familiar with a lot of these songs we were working on. So there's that, nostalgia, emotional connection. And so it wound up just being a nice birthing to what we're doing now. And there's still certainly plenty of that, because there was a great joy in throwing out songs that people kind of forgot they knew. Again, these one hit things that really resonate with people in beautiful ways. So we still have a good arsenal of those kinds of songs to break out. So,
is there an example of one of those that you?
Yeah, Sylvia's Mother.
Sylvia's Mother
It might have been one of the first singles I bought as a kid, and it's is a love it or hate it song. And in fact, there's a video of the band from back in the day on YouTube. You could see him introducing the song and then apologizing to everybody who's sick of it, because it got played all over the place. And I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a guy making a phone call, and it's Sylvia's mother said Sylvia's packing, she's catching the 9:00 train, and he's got a voice like he's about to break into tears through the whole thing, and it's corny as hell, and yet you once it's in your head, it's there forever. And that is a song that, honestly, you'll be playing a bar and everybody's chit-chatting, and when you start that song and you break into the first line, Sylvia's mother says, inevitably, 25% at least of the people are going to be like,
The people 45 and older.
oh yeah,
Clearly.
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody checking this podcast out would relate to it, but we're just here to relate these stories from the past.
catch a few.
Yeah, but it's a blast watching that response, because it's going to happen. You're just wondering where, and so that's rewarding on both levels, both yours as providing that, and again, it's not like you're up there playing Wagon Wheel or something that everybody's heard a zillion times. It's like this song that they haven't heard in 35 years, 40 years or something like that. So that's really fun.
It's like trying to figure out like what something you smelled in grade school, like
Totally.
the pizza that came out in the rack or whatever.
It is. It's a similar thing to smell. It's just another great sense that puts you in a certain place. And a good friend of ours, I won't say who, but always wants to hear that because of a woman named Sylvia who like broke up with him or something, and that's been and his wife requested on his behalf, could you play this because he's still kind of stuck on Sylvia or something like that. So
that's true love right there, though.
It is. Play their song. I'm fine. Yeah.
Do you count any of those folks from the early Sugar Room days in your associates still? Have any other members endured?
Yes, I actually just anointed two former Blue Velveeta members into the associates while you were on vacation.
Okay.
Yeah, Ken and Doug played. In fact, they joined me at I was playing solo at the Wine Cafe, and then Doug and Ken, who were both in Blue Velveeta, happened to be in town. They came down and then we got up, we played, and they were they were thus associates. And so we had a ceremony, afterward, and there was a sort of a knighting of sorts. So yeah, the Sugar Room days. There are because the Sugar Room, I can't remember what came first, the Jazz Club or the Sugar Room, but Blue Velveeta played both, I think. So, yep. We have a couple more associates from the Blue Velveeta days, and that's a delight. And it's just growing. Yeah, can't throw a cat in this town without hitting an associate pretty soon.
So
It's going to be our tagline.
you call your crew the associates. Is it multi-instrumentalists, or is everyone a singer?
Yeah, it's right now the core is like I play guitar. I'm the only guitar player in it. And then we have a drummer, bass player. And so the drummer would be Scott Ray. Bass player would be Shelley Pierce. We have a saxophone player, Evan Beer. We have Ann, a vocalist, along with Caitlin Bauman, vocalist, and Michelle Roach on keyboards and percussion. So that's sort of and this particular iteration has not been out yet. We're still working together and getting like 4 hours worth of stuff together.
Yeah, I want to jump in and like kind of clarify that the 15 years has been Joe and I performing as Fish Fry or The Fry, because we had to change our name once it became clear that people would come in thinking they were at a fish fry, and then the restaurant or the bar ownership would be like, no, I'm sorry. And that was funny at first until a couple bar owners were like, all right, So we had a big performance opportunity. We thought that was a good time to like rebrand a little bit. So we did that. But then when the pandemic shutdown happened, we, like a lot of, other artists and just humans, used the time to rethink, like, all right, what do we really, when we emerge from this, if we perform again, what changes do we want to make, if any? And one of the things we had been talking about, the two of us, in recent years was having a bigger sound with a bigger ensemble, and realizing that's not practical all the time. Like with Blue Velveeta, those players were all great together, but they lived all over the Midwest. So there's no way to do that on a regular basis. So we thought the way to do this, to perform as much as we want to perform, but also have a bigger ensemble at our disposal, is to let go of the Fry as a name, and also the brand, that in that we will constantly do the same material as we've done. It's just getting a little stale. It was just time to freshen things up. So we emerged from 2020 as Joe Tougas and Associates, which at the core is Joe and I. I'm the lead associate. And then these 5 other people who can pretty much play with us in different configurations. So does that mean it's like we wanted to get bigger and more nimble, and in a way that acknowledged, I think, they're really supportive and excited about each other community of musicians that's in Mankato.
It's really cool because I've seen, especially with like some DJs who we follow, where they'll sometimes go, all the way down to doing, almost just like turntable stuff, at a club, but then all the way up to like having their full tracks performed with 30 or 40 musicians on stage, and they just do it per what the venue wants and what the crowd in that town wants. And I think, a lot of musicians do just have like, they want to get out and play, and like doing every level is just like really cool. And, if you have the opportunity, go for it.
Have you had the opportunity to pull everyone together for a show yet?
Not for a show yet. We are doing that. We were hired. Every now and then we get hired. Ann and I've been doing weddings ever since the first one, right? So sometimes people will hire us to do the ceremonial music, or sometimes a reception.
Or we do a lot of second weddings. We're like that vibe.
Yeah. Very much. We're the subs that, we don't do YMCA.
That'd be good to put on the website or not.
Like people getting married to each other for the second
married
time.
Again? Getting married again?
Well, not necessarily the same couple, but we're your second time around reception band.
Like, we don't need a DJ for this one. We'll just
Exactly.
have something to sing,
when I was
band you can talk over.
I've been in bands since like high school in Wisconsin when I lived there, and we played weddings all the time for like $200, and I think we had a 100% track record of everyone was ended in divorce within like 5 years. We were busy, but so were they. So my point being is that we Ann and I were contacted to play a wedding reception in September in Rochester, and I said sure, but at the same time this is right around the time we were considering getting together a larger band. So I said to this young couple, yeah, Ann and I can do it. I also have a much larger band if you would be interested. And she said, yeah, we would be. So that gave us an excuse to get together on a regular basis to learn a whole bunch of songs, so that we've got in our pocket, and so there's going to be this event that I hope we practice out loud for ahead of time, like maybe at a local bar or something. But it's just up to the most recent rehearsal the other night, man. These players are so good, and I'm really proud to be doing that with them, and I know we're excited because, like Ann said, this is amplifying a lot of stuff we've already done as a quiet little duo. So now it's out there, and that feels really great too.
What is the content of it? Is it like new originals or some of these old songs?
The goal is to get our own songs, like I said, amplified and out there. And there's a good, 3 dozen, 4 dozen of those kind of things that would be ready to go. Yet we're playing a wedding. So we're learning or teaching the band a lot of these covers we already have, or brand new stuff that would just be, this would be a cool song to play at a wedding that nobody else plays as a wedding. You know what I mean? So, we have one more Monday night to go of practicing, after which I think we'll have like 4.5 hours so we're ready to go for your wedding.
Yeah. First or second. Now we know we're a first wedding band as well.
Well, plus, weddings pay well, and it would be wonderful to be this exciting, unusual band to play for somebody's wedding. You're not going to alienate, you're not going to alienate anybody. This is pretty safe stuff, but at the same time, it has that, that connection where we're proud to play it.
We have our limits. Like we will not do white wedding. We will not do what you say YMCA and stuff like that. But there are some things that are in kind of a nebulous zone where we determined as a band, like we will do this for this wedding, like Friends in Low Places, for instance.
Right.
And we're like, well, yes, we'll do this for this wedding in Rochester, but we have like a radius in mind where we will not do it within the Mankato, 10 miles or whatever.
Exactly.
So we're going to get an infographic together.
No cameras. Everybody turn your cameras off. We will not be captured singing this one.
And part of the problem is that it's so fun to do. So it's like we're back to the beginning with us and John Denver, like, prop me up beside, the jukebox, or
the other night
we're doing it. We're like, oh my god!
The other night we were doing Friends in Low Places, and I'm thinking, my God, that's why this song made $1 zillion. It's so fun, So we were like all looking at each other like, what were we laughing about? This is a great song.
It's like it's hard. It's work to hate it. And you can on principle you can be like, oh, it's just too much. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you might look over your shoulder, but you're singing. Right? I've been there.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a little dumb if it's just you as a solo guy doing that song versus 7 players who are losing it, just because it's so much fun to play.
So that we don't have a date yet that the full band, all 7 of us, will be performing in Mankato, like post-wedding. But I think a reason for people to pay attention and want to know is like to see us have our existential crises on stage, like this band that now wants to be this like big original thing, but then here we all are in love with this, some of these covers, and I think it will be fun to watch us all. I don't know, self-actualize.
We're going to play you our stream of consciousness experimental stuff, and somebody's going to be like, hey, do you do? You do Friends in Low Places. We could do that. Will it make you happy?
Would you have an original set, like an hour, 2 hours long,
Yeah.
if you were doing a show, though?
Oh,
yeah. We've had we have a couple CDs out for a while, and probably a couple CDs worth of songs not yet recorded. So
Okay.
I would say, yeah, we could do a full night of originals, probably pretty easy.
Nice.
And remember them too. So
And I think some of the other musicians have originals too that they're pulling into this that will be.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
Michelle, and I played with Michelle Roach recently on the 4th of July. It was the first time she and I played together, and that's sort of the idea, hopefully, of the associates, right? Is like we can just play with Michelle once, or and get Scott in there, and I keep hitting stuff. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah. So to just be flexible like that, and Michelle is a wonderful songwriter. She has a lot of great tunes, and Caitlin Bauman also. Yeah. So it again. There's just this great energy, and everybody is game to, like, I created the set list, and I was a little worried that everybody would sort of want their own saying that, but it was sort of like, no, you do the picking and choosing, and we'll play the songs, and that's been a breeze, I think, for everybody. It's fun to learn them.
Everybody's pro. It's
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
really good pro
Yeah.
group of people.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
What so you two have been performing in Mankato for a while now. Like, what have you seen happen in this area that strikes you as significant over the last 15 years? Like, whether it's venues shifting, or like scenes changing, or opportunities as a performer shifting. Like,
Yeah. I'd say the fact that we've been performing for the past 15 years is a shift from when I got here. I got here in the 80s to go to college. And all anybody did was talk about what a shame we aren't in the 70s anymore. Because, boy, they had these glory days where it was like, 5 nights a week, there's going to be live music somewhere in town. You wouldn't have believed that. And it was in like 82 when I showed up. It was desolate. I mean, you could only hope that like City Mouse would be playing sometime in the next few weeks. And so it was bone dry for a long time. And then I'd say around 91, when a couple of things happened, the Bothy Folk Club appeared out of nowhere and just invited anybody who knew a tune to come up and do an open stage. It was like one of the first open stages ever around here. And that coincided with Mike Peaton opening the What's Up. And it was Mike Peaton, I think, originally had the What's Up conceived as like an acoustic little maybe Italian cafe, something like that, And so this Bothy Folk Club comes in.
Where was that?
The What's Up?
No, the Bothy Folk Club.
The Bothy Folk Club was just a group of people.
Oh.
And so it became, and they went up to the What's Up. And it really was. It was just an open stage that we thought maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 folkies would show up. And, I'd say about 50 showed up along with their friend. It was gangbusters for Mike. And so he got that rolling. He was very accommodating toward that, of course. The Bothy just kept growing in popularity. Pretty soon live music was happening. Then the Coffee Hag opens, and then they start having things. And pretty soon bar owners are taking a look at this and going, maybe we should start considering this. And so live music slowly became more commonplace around here. So when we started, once we had a decent couple of hours of stuff, we went to just local places like the Pub 500 and the McGough's, and we played there kind of regularly.
I think
Contessa was a
couple
place.
places that have closed. The Venus also closed.
Right, and then there was the one thing we've done, it seems, is like we'd be among the first groups somebody'd have going, and then we'd get a nice little response or something like that. I'm thinking of the Red Room. What am I thinking
Red
of?
Sky?
Red Sky. Thank you. So we went to Red Sky. They were just open. We're sort of like, hey, we'll play, you know, and we had this nice. It was a great place, and we would play there. And response, we played there on Tuesday nights, and it was, you know, sometimes it was empty, sometimes there was a few dozen people. You know, nothing wild like that.
Like a residency on a Tuesday
Like
night?
a residency. Yeah, exactly. That's what we were doing. Like, one Tuesday here, one Tuesday here, one Tuesday here. It was a rotation. So it was really it worked out well for us. We really built up our chops and all that. And Red Sky was one of them. But then it was sort of sad because it was a huge place and there was just not a lot happening in there. And then somebody, I don't know who, showed up and said, let's transform this into more of a DJ hip hop situation, and boom, it exploded. And so it was like, any chance you need us on a, like, no, we're cool. So it's been fun to watch that happen and to cross paths with people who get really excited. And it's just, so now they're going to be talking of, should we have another musical famine or something like that, they're going to be talking about these days more so than back when, because it just seems like there is always some place to go to see, live music, and not just live music, but like singer-songwriters doing their thing. And we're a community that really accommodates that, and pays for it. You can get paid here for doing your music. And I'm not so sure, as I talk to musician friends up in the cities, that's a normal thing. You want to wait, you're going to wait. It's cool to play in these places, clubs, and there's a prestige involved in that. But if you're in it to, pay an electric bill or something like that, it's not going to, they've got a glut. They've got a whole bunch of people that want to play. Down here, it's just some sweet spot where people will pay to see music and support the bars that provide it. And you don't have to be playing all the hits. You can really, and that they're just as interested in seeing a local band put itself out there with its own work than they are seeing, a guy doing Piano Man. So, which is a song by Billy Joel, who was a famous musician back in the day.
Do you add that one to your wedding roster?
No.
Nope. Draw the line there.
At Duluth. If you go beyond Duluth, then we'll sing us a song, you're the Piano Man.
Yeah.
I'm sure that one also would be fun to play. But.
Absolutely. Hey, and I do not mean I am not criticizing Billy Joel or Piano Man. I wish I would have written Piano Man.
As a wedding DJ, I've had to play it a bunch, so.
Okay. Also, you get the whole, like.
Oh, okay. You know where. Yeah.
I know that one. Yeah. You mentioned about people being able to perform here and play. One of the things that Jacob and I talk about on occasion is whether Mankato needs another like stage or venue here too, like that kind of small medium thing. And I don't know if it would. I was never at the Red Sky to know whether it would. What I'm imagining might fit that kind of a thing. But we worked at Red Rocks for a while, and they were starting to do shows and had a stage that could hold like a 7-piece band or whatever.
Right.
Wondering if there's like an opportunity in Mankato for a space like that is more of a true venue rather than like a bars.
That's retrofitted.
Side. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there are conversations going on about that at the city level and with the new director of Twin Rivers Council for the Arts and obviously in the, among musicians themselves. So I think certainly there's a desire for that. Probably the issue is what exactly it would be geared toward, right? Because it's a flexible space still is going to eliminate the possibility of some things. So that's probably the issue is like what rises to the top as what it gets built for. Yeah.
I think it's interesting to me that you talked about like lulls and things like that, and you were talking about like now is a great time to play out, Joe, because like I've heard a lot of people who feel like we're on the backside of another lull, and I think that some of that comes from the new everything being digital, like that you can have access to anything you want on the internet. So a lot of people went there to promote and play and do all of those things. And people, there's not any replacement for 10 o'clock beer at your hand, like a PA speaker coming at, like there's just, it'll never go away. And so now the artists, I feel like they're coming back and like, they want to have that wide reach of that plus the like local roots so that you can do both. Cause I mean, that's the most gratifying thing. Like I would like, I can't think of anything more gratifying than playing out, and I just like straight up don't do it right now. But like, you know, it's a feeling that every musician I feel like wants.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, that's an interesting parallel between everybody's defaulting to digital, or the fear or the potential of that happening, because the rut back in the day was bar owners were finding it a lot more affordable to just get a bunch of speakers and a dance floor, because that's going to pack them in. You don't have to pay liability insurance for bands anymore. That was a big thing too. Bands were expensive. Bar owners, because of I think an increased awareness of drunk driving laws and things like that, they had to pay a lot more for insurance. And here, recorded music doesn't cost anything. So it was like recorded music is going to be the end of live bands, and it was for a while. But bar owners today are 100% for live bands as opposed to back then. So now the threat of people going digital is at least met by, you know, bar owners who believe in this area, who believe in that. I think, you know, Dan at the Wine Cafe and everybody else, Jenny at the Circle. I mean, their hearts are in this. They know that that's a good thing, and hopefully good in the long run, you know. I mean, so that's the difference, at least between now and then, because that it was all about the money then, and now of course it's about making money and being sustainable, but also putting a priority on the art in this town. So
yeah, I do think that's kind of like where the venue angle might be another thing too, because I mean, venues sell music and culture, and bars sell drinks. So there's like there's something to be said that like there's not any specific institution in Mankato that like I have a real expectation. Like I can walk up to the door. Like I feel like I could walk up to First Ave on any day and like expect something, you know?
Right.
And like I don't feel that here, but like I think that I see so much energy for it, because we have really well developed scenes here in Mankato. Like we do have like a great folk music scene. We have a great hip hop scene, and like I don't know how intertwined the like hard rock scene is, but like I know there's people who are making it.
Yeah. I agree with you. I always thought that, you know, it's not original. It's just to rip off the First Avenue idea of, I remember when they were building Pub 500, I thought, oh, if I was building this, I would lay it out just like First Avenue, and with the all ages aspect. So in other words, you drink upstairs, and downstairs is the stage and all age access, and you have two stairways where there's IDs checked, and then so I just thought that would work here beautifully. I don't know. And if anybody wants to invest with me, let's do this. But I agree with you that that the time is now. The time is right for this sort of, if not a First Avenue, but a venue. I thought, what was it when we played Hank and Rita right across the street from?
Yeah, Studio 8 or 6 or
Studio
like
2 or Studio. Yeah, that was a cool place. It was more of a cabaret kind of thing, but that seemed like it had enormous potential. And then, you know, he went somewhere else. But
I would offer
a
counter opinion that, I mean, like I would not stand in the way of the perfect new venue being built, but there's something really exciting about being at that point. Like I'd be happy to stay at this point of, like, I think where we're at now is that feeling of like a party that's so overflowing, you know, and everybody's in the kitchen or whatever and mixing up these things. But like there's something really exciting about being at that brink almost, and the conversation, the constant conversation about what should be built and what would happen there is part of what makes the current scene so exciting. And I like playing in, and I like experiencing arts events in unlikely spaces. And I think the Wine Cafe is our perfect local microcosm of that. Like, it is, well, it's a better setup for music now than it has been, you know. They're putting the bands where they're putting them now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like in the corner of the patio. Or in the back of the front door. The
front door. Yeah. So the audience can be like vertical, and that makes more sense. That's wonderful. But at the same time, when the bands were like right by where the bartenders are walking and stuff, it was ridiculous, and yet it felt kind of exciting and kind of like the room was packed always.
Right.
So I'm okay with this very slow evolution. We could talk for the next decade about what the next venue should be while we are presently filling our not quite right spaces with enthusiastic music.
And it is really like having a full space, no matter what it is important, because that was one of the obstacles that we threw really cool shows at Red Rocks from time to time. And, 75, 80 people in Red Rocks, it feels like the party's over.
Yeah.
It was like, could everyone please come to the front and, enjoy it over here?
Yep. Yeah.
That's what's nice about the Wine Cafe too, probably, is that you get 20, 30 in there and it's like a good time.
That's it. Yeah. And I think even with the configuration they have now, it still somewhat feels that way. You can have a pretty small room and it still feels pretty good.
Yeah. That's a good point about the scale maybe being just almost right, because it could be too much too. Like, we could have too many venues or
right, and then there's that sterility of having the perfect venue and like, all right, well, now what?
I think a little injection of FOMO could go a long way here in Mankato. If there was two shows and you don't know which one to go to, or like I might not have this opportunity tomorrow, like that. I think that could be a little bit helpful.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the amphitheater? What are your professional opinions of the amphitheater the Vetterstone Amphitheater as a venue?
I like the space better than what tends to occupy it.
Well said. I get that.
We were the first.
The first?
We were the first band to play.
Is not why I brought that up. I forgot that. I forgot that was our. That was the occasion for.
I'm here with the promo.
That was when we changed our. We thought that was a good occasion to do that switch from Fish Fry to the Fry, because we were because we opened for the Indigo Girls opening band. We were the local opener.
We shared the stage with the Indigo Girls.
Well, yeah. Anyway, we
did a triple bill with the Indigo Girls, and it was great. But no, before that, when they unveiled the place, they had like it was like the very first time that was like we were the first of 5 bands, so we were the first to play. Mankato trivia.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, I was just curious as to what you thought.
I like the space, and I like, as someone who wants to organize shows, I've actually considered that to be one of the coolest, like, big show opportunities. But yeah, I've never attended a show there, so I should probably try that.
You should.
Sometime. Yeah.
You should. I like it. I think it's weird. And
I've always had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does that count as that counts as a big venue? I think too. Probably.
It's big, but I like it because I think it's somewhat unlikely, because it's by the river, and it spills into the natural environment, and you're kind of by the train tracks, and so there's a little bit of weirdness about it that makes it work for me. Like, it feels organic, like with the right band there, it feels like Mankato. This is just happening, out of nowhere. It's not like super pristine and.
No, well, I think it's beautiful, largely because when I heard of the plans for it, I'm like, what? Where? This? No. This is going to be a boondoggle. And I've gone there a number of times to see everybody, like Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson one night. That was a really emotional night. It was beautiful. And so I'm a fan of the venue. I've had fun there with John Hyatt and Lucinda Williams.
Well, it's a city asset, right? Like a city
absolutely,
asset.
Absolutely. So, but I just thought they might not know what they're doing, or something. But turns out it's really. I haven't been there in 5 years, but
You missed Hairball.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, they have to set up a really big production every time, I think. Like, I'm sure as compared to like a venue where everything's just set up and ready to go, it's like significant effort required.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, cool space.
Very much.
Yeah. I don't know if we got sidetracked from the venue thing or not, but
Well, we've just kind of been talking about Mankato, and I feel like right before this, I found out that there's probably like 15 different things that we should talk to each of you about. Maybe it'll be a repeat guest kind of thing.
Oh yeah, well, that'll work.
We're fascinating.
Yeah,
I
well,
can tell you about the time I hired Hairball.
that wasn't on my list yet, but you could add it.
they're not going to come after us now, are they? It's the last thing.
Not after what I paid him.
Yeah. Well, we should probably stick to the music. Can we talk about the radio stuff? Like, you're both radio hosts on KMSU?
By all means.
I'm completely unfamiliar, so just educate me.
Well, I'll go first because I've been doing it the longest.
Of course. Yes.
I've been a volunteer radio DJ at KMSU for a long time. I started doing it in the mid-'90s when I proposed to station manager at the time, Mary Lee Rickard, at the Square Deal Bar. I said, Mary Lee, you need a 1-hour show devoted exclusively to the music of Frank Zappa, and I'm just the guy to do it for you. And I was kind of joking, and she said, can you do a minimum of, can you commit to 6 months? I said, yes. Are you serious? And so for the next 5 years, I had a show on KMSU Friday nights called City of Tiny Lights, dedicated to the music of Frank Zappa. And eventually mellowed that out to include other artists, and I think even a different time of day, and brought in my friend John Gotterud. And we did that for quite a while. Took a couple of years off, and then I'm back now with just sort of a general what Joe likes to play show. It's called The Way Out on 3 o'clock on Fridays. And it started out wanting to be like this, bringing in songwriters and having them play in the studio, and did that, but it's work. I don't think I have to tell you. And especially for, a seat of the pants schedule person. So it's just like, oh, it's Thursday. I don't have anybody to do this. Hey, can you. So it's a lot easier to just come up with some loose theme and play songs around it. So it's pretty, it is a large, high per capita of us. But now with editing software, I can take those out if I pre-record it. So I can almost see what an looks like in the sound wave. So there's an so get rid of that. Anyway, that's my radio show.
Yeah. And mine is Thursdays at 1 on behalf of the Arts Center of St. Peter. It's called Live from the Arts Center of St. Peter. And that's because that's where I work. I'm the director at the Arts Center. And a couple years ago, KMSU, which is based on the campus of MSU. It's a university radio station with a lot of community volunteers. So they consider themselves a community radio station. They're based on campus, and they wanted a satellite studio in St. Peter because they have so many St. Peter volunteers. And St. Peter is just its own little weird hub of arts and culture. So I happen to have space at the Arts Center. So KMSU and the Arts Center work together. So now they have a studio there that functions as a satellite studio for those volunteers located there to get there a little more easily, but also for us to partner in some ways that showcase local music in ways that you just can't do with a campus station. So as part of that, I just said, when we started a couple years ago, I had no radio experience either as a host or engineering, but I knew I had to snag an hour if it became available so that I could just have that like real estate, or that time on the calendar, and then figure out later what to do with it. It turned out that during, the shutdown period, that was really valuable because then I could be showcasing local musicians and communicating with the arts community. And even like when we can't have, we still can't have in-person receptions for art exhibitions now at the Arts Center. So instead of those 15-minute artist talks with cheese and crackers, I can invite those artists to do a residency for the whole month of their exhibition on my show, talk about their process, play the music that's important to them, and it's just a joy. And I had somebody doing the engineering, and then again with the shutdown, he's like, I'm not going to be in this little room with you, so learn this yourself quick. And so that was like my main funtivity during 2020 was learning how to record and edit my own shows. And so I have to do it in advance because I'm not that good yet. But anyway,
Well,
it's a joy.
Yeah, and I think my relationship to your show is indicative of it overall, you and me, because I've been doing mine, like I said, for 20 some years or something like that, and just starts, and I enjoy mine, and I listen to Ann's show, and I'm just like thinking of my own show. God, I'm stupid. This is just a dumb. Her show is wonderful. She's a great interviewer, and she brings out the best in guests. And like I said, I'm sitting there going, well. So I love your show. And this is me endorsing your show. It's really good.
Thanks. I think that is the crux of our partnership over these years is feeling that way about each other's stuff. And then the next step is like, all right, I will top that.
we are nicely competitive, I think, in that way.
That's true.
Yeah. I will tolerate your excellence for only so long.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
So that show idea does sound very cool. So you have an artist who's showing come on the show and play their music.
Yeah, like so the
interest?
first I had one exhibiting artist whose show was over a 2-month period. And he happens to really be a music guy and a big KMSU listener. So he took a ton of pleasure in putting together a different playlist for each week. And he's a retired art educator. So like one week he talked about and played music that had something to do with his experience as a teacher and talked about that part of his life. So it's a mix of like their music and then some talking segments. But, it turned out, like in that case in particular, it was so much better than a 15-minute standing there in a gallery of like people awkwardly circled up. It was like so much better to give each topic a week's worth of time, and you get people in the studio and it's just you and them, and they feel more comfortable than in front of a room full of people. So it was like it was a cool way to showcase the artists as people to the public, and also have a piece, like a recorded piece that they could take away with them and put on their website or whatever. So anyway, I can't remember how we got off on that, but
that's fun. Any visual artists who had surprisingly interesting taste in music?
The most surprising have been the one or two that said, like, as much as I gave them the instruction, like, you got to bring 9 to 12 songs or whatever, show up and they're like, I don't listen to music. I'm not into music. Well, where do we go from here?
So play something you like, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that what one of them did?
I put it together. Yeah. But then that became its own interesting topic. It's like, why don't you? And for some of them, it's like too much of a distraction. For some of them, the emotional content makes it impossible for them to do their work. So when that's been the case, there's always a story, and that's kind of interesting. Yeah. I will also say most visual artists put out the disclaimer that their list is really eclectic, and if they listen to the show, they'd know, like, well, you all say that, like, you all have varied influences, and that's a good thing. And
yeah.
Neat.
I really do feel like most people who are in the creative field are more compelled to than anything. Like they don't.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to say we get into it for the money, but I always like hearing artists talk about something that's off of their, like, I like to listen to musicians talk about painting or, like literally anything. 'Cause I think they know kind of like the gravity of speaking about an opinion on a creative work. And, it's always a hoot.
Yeah, definitely. The series are really fun for me when an artist or a writer or a musician or whatever can commit to more than 1 week, because then when they get comfortable, then they really get into some interesting territory, opinion wise and taking stances. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, should do you guys have any upcoming shows here we can plug or people to find your music?
Please go to joetougas.com. We have a band schedule there. Upcoming on the 22nd, as we mentioned, at the Circle Inn. We might be in the nick of time in terms of when this airs. Mm-hmm. But at 6 to 8 o'clock, we are having a Shandy, the bride, and Jared will be there. And we'll all be celebrating our 15 years.
Oh, they got 15 years out of it too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're still
good.
married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, maybe they are our first wedding
record.
band.
So our track record is now maybe 100% the other way, rather than my beer-soaked
True.
Wisconsin teenage days. I think it's the harmonies. In every sense, right? It's harmony. Yeah, let's just... Yeah. So joetougas.com is where you would find the schedule. And I know we're playing Thursday. I'm playing solo. I don't know, next Wednesday. Same thing. They say, hey, come join me, associate.
Okay.
That'd be great. And then you and I are at the Blue Boat on early August, like August 7th. And then this giant band of ours, just keep an eye out for them.
That's right.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
We have friends in low places.
Cool.
No, I'm really excited to bust that out, and then again have that in the side pocket, and then work on, our a nice long repertoire of our own stuff, along with some, choice covers that would not go over maybe at a wedding necessarily, but that are fun to play.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to hear about the project, and enjoyed listening to some of the songs that we captured earlier. So we're excited to put those out and share them with our audience.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Same here. Thank you very much. Thanks for doing this. Just not only for us, but for all your interviews and the artists you support that way. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.